What if I told you some of the most explosive WWE storylines were already written? Promos memorized. Crowds ready to explode. And then, boom, real life walked in and shut the whole thing down? Tonight we're pulling the curtain back on the chaos WWE never wanted you to see, where reality hit harder than any finisher and forced billion-dollar plans to vanish overnight. The first bell doesn't ring in the arena, it rings backstage. CM Punk was supposed to be the rebel who changed everything. Creative plans were moving fast, tensions were even faster, and then real-life frustration boiled over. Contracts, lawsuits, interviews, heat that wasn't scripted. Suddenly the story wasn't about a match anymore, it was about control. The company didn't cancel a storyline because fans weren't interested, they canceled it because reality had become uncontrollable. The character didn't lose momentum, the situation exploded. And when that happens, WWE doesn't rewrite the ending. They erase the chapter. Then there's the moment when creative gold meets personal boundaries. Sasha Banks was positioned for dominance, a story built on respect, titles, and legacy. But when real-life dissatisfaction, creative disagreements, and walkout rumors hit the headlines, the story collapsed in real time. Fans thought they were watching a storyline pause. No. They were watching real life hijack the script. WWE had no choice, because when a performer isn't on the same page as the company, no amount of storytelling can fake unity. Now imagine being the face of the entire company. Everything revolves around you. Every rivalry, every main event, every future plan. That's where Roman Reigns comes in. At one point, WWE had to instantly slam the brakes on massive plans, not because of ratings, not because of injuries in the ring, but because real life demanded priority. Health, safety, and responsibility outside the ropes forced creative rewrites at lightning speed. Titles were vacated, matches scrapped, and weeks of build-up thrown in the trash. It wasn't weakness, it was reality overpowering spectacle. Sometimes the drama isn't sudden, it's a slow burn. Jeff Hardy had stories planned around redemption, risk, and emotional connection. But when personal struggles made headlines again, WWE faced the hardest decision of all: continue the storyline or protect the brand. The answer was brutal and immediate. Angles disappeared, partnerships dissolved, and what was meant to be an emotional arc became a warning sign. Fans didn't get closure, because real life doesn't write satisfying endings. Then there's a different kind of interruption, the kind no one sees coming. Paige was once positioned for a powerful return arc, a story of resilience and comeback. But real-life health issues shut the door permanently. This wasn't about controversy, it was about reality stepping in and saying no more. WWE didn't cancel the story because it failed. They canceled it because some risks are bigger than wrestling itself. And finally, when business decisions collide with unpredictability, even monsters fall. Brock Lesnar has had multiple storylines quietly altered or scrapped entirely, not because of fan reaction, but because of real-world negotiations, contracts, and behind-the-scenes storms. When real-life negotiations turn cold, creative plans freeze. Matches vanish. Rivals change. And fans are left wondering why the unstoppable suddenly stopped. Here's the truth WWE never promotes: wrestling isn't scripted when reality gets involved. The ring may be controlled, but life isn't. One phone call, one headline, one real-world mistake, and months of storytelling die instantly. No entrance music. No final promo. No payoff. So next time a storyline disappears without explanation, remember this: some of the biggest battles in WWE don't happen under the lights. They happen behind closed doors, where reality doesn't care about crowd reactions, long-term booking, or happy endings. And when real life hits harder than a steel chair, even WWE has no choice but to tap out. Look at CM Punk. Every time the crowd chants his name, it's not just nostalgia, it's anger for stories that never got a proper ending. Feuds that were supposed to shake the industry. Matches that could have rewritten history. Instead, fans were left staring at an empty space where greatness was supposed to explode. That unfinished tension still hangs in the air years later, like a match that never rang the bell. With Sasha Banks, the frustration cuts even deeper. Fans watched momentum peak, watched belief grow, watched a star ready to redefine the division, and then reality pulled the plug. The storyline didn't end with a loss or a betrayal. It ended with confusion. And confusion hurts more than defeat. Every return tease, every rumor, every headline reopened the wound of what could have been. When Roman Reigns had his world shaken outside the ring, the entire company felt it. Plans built around dominance and legacy collapsed instantly. Titles meant nothing. Main events evaporated. And fans didn't boo, they held their breath. Because this wasn't entertainment anymore. This was real life, reminding everyone that even the strongest character is still human. The case of Jeff Hardy is the most painful of all. His stories were never just about winning, they were about survival, redemption, and connection. When real-life struggles erased those arcs, it felt like watching a movie stop right before the ending. Fans weren't angry, they were heartbroken. Because they knew the fight was no longer scripted. Then there's Paige, whose comeback story never reached its final chapter. Not because of controversy, not because of creative failure, but because reality drew a line that wrestling could not cross. Her storyline didn't lose, it was sacrificed for life itself. And that makes it impossible to forget. And with Brock Lesnar, the cancellations felt sudden, cold, and business-driven. One week the future looked explosive, the next week it was rewritten without warning. That's the reminder that in WWE, even the most dominant force can be sidelined when real-world storms hit. This is the truth fans rarely hear. Wrestling promises endings, but reality doesn't. Storylines can be rewritten, characters can be rebuilt, but cancelled stories live forever in the minds of fans. They become legends without conclusions. Myths without endings. Questions without answers. So every time you wonder why a feud vanished, why a push stopped, why a moment never came, remember this. Some of WWE's biggest losses never happened in the ring. They happened when real life refused to play along. And that unfinished echo you feel? That's not bad booking. That's reality winning the final match. And even now, long after the cameras stopped rolling and the company moved on, the damage is still there. Because when a storyline is cancelled, it doesn't just disappear from television, it lingers in memory. It becomes that moment fans argue about late at night, that clip people replay and say, this was going somewhere. It turns into a ghost of what wrestling promised but never delivered. The hardest part is the silence. No explanation. No acknowledgement. Just a sudden shift, like nothing ever mattered. One week the crowd is emotionally invested, believing in the journey, trusting the direction. The next week, the story is gone, replaced by something rushed and unfinished. That silence is louder than any promo, because it tells fans the truth without words. Real life took control. Backstage, it's even uglier. Careers stall without warning. Momentum evaporates. Performers who were told they were on the verge of greatness are suddenly told to wait. Or worse, to forget it ever happened. Trust breaks. Confidence cracks. And the audience can feel it, even if they can't explain why the energy changed overnight. These cancellations don't just affect one feud or one segment. They ripple through the entire company. Titles lose meaning. Wins feel hollow. Rivalries feel forced. When reality interrupts the script, everything becomes reactive instead of planned. Wrestling stops being a story and starts being damage control. And fans? Fans are left carrying the weight. They remember the promos that hinted at something bigger. The stare-downs that promised war. The slow build that suddenly went nowhere. Those moments turn into lifelong what-ifs. Not because the idea was bad, but because it was never allowed to finish. This is the cruel truth about professional wrestling. It thrives on illusion, but it can never escape reality. No matter how loud the crowd, no matter how perfect the build-up, no matter how legendary the moment was supposed to be, real life always gets the final say. So when the screen fades, and the show moves on like nothing happened, remember this. Somewhere in the shadows of wrestling history, there are stories that never failed. They were stolen by reality. And those unfinished endings will always hurt more than any loss ever could. And that's why these cancelled stories hurt more than losses. A loss is planned. A defeat is temporary. But a cancelled storyline is unfinished business, a promise broken without warning. It's the reminder that no matter how powerful the character, no matter how loud the crowd, no matter how perfect the build-up, reality always goes over. So when the screen fades to black and the company rushes forward like nothing happened, remember this, some of the biggest moments in wrestling history never failed, they were taken away. Not by bad booking. Not by lack of talent. But by life refusing to follow the script.